Rebekah Roth here, and if you've been following my research and you've been reading my 5 books about, that day in September when no one was supposed to ever find out the truth, even YouTube doesn't want me to talk about it, so I'm going to let you figure that out by going to the links below and check out the books. But one of the things that I've done is I've realized that this has been something that's plagued me since childhood. I see patterns, and that's one of the reasons as a flight attendant I was able to go through and look at every document I could find, read every book I could find, and just everything I could find about 9/11 almost a decade after it happened. And I could see patterns in behavior and patterns in espionage acts, intelligence operations, and that sort of thing. So I'm going to share with you, I hope you have some time, because these are all excellent clips. One of my favorites to check in with is Black Scout Survival, and he's going to start this. Let's see, who else do we go on to? He brings us into a check-in with Ryan Matta, who I've discovered just following up with the Charlie Kirk investigation, because I happen to have friends in St. George, Utah that know the families of the 2 children, young adults suspected of being involved. So it has caught my eye. So I'm paying attention. And then we go into Baron Coleman. He's the gentleman, he's an attorney in Tennessee, I believe, who about a month or 2 ago came out and shared with us the Google searches that were done by almost everybody involved, from the person who asked the last question of Charlie Kirk, to Mikey McCoy, to Erica Kirk, home addresses, the home address of the lot or the house that the rifle was found in, the little wooded area. It's been incredible. So you want to follow all these people. I'll put their links in the description box, but Baron Coleman asks a question. And then we have some Candace Owens, and the grand finale will be someone I bet you've been brainwashed to hate. And I have learned to love this.
America's on a crash course, and we're going to see, in my opinion, a expedited path to destruction. I really do. Okay. Now, let's shift gears, man. You remember Cash Patel? We talked about another day about the same guy that just got caught on the government G5 jet with a personal trip with his girlfriend. Yeah. Now let me roll this 2023 clip of him railing against Christopher Wray's private G5, saying taxpayers shouldn't be footing 15 grand just to turn that bird on. Listen to him.
Guy, I'm just saying Chris Wray doesn't need a government-funded G5 jet to go to vacation. Maybe we ground that plane. $15,000 every time it takes off. Just a thought.
Minimum. This guy has totally flipped. I mean, in every sense. He talked about Epstein, the FBI had the files, and now they don't have nothing. It's a hoax. Epstein trafficked girls to no one. And he's blasting Ray for using the G5, and he's using it. And he actually took it off the tracker so you can't see where he's going from now on. But it's just funny how the tune changes once you got the keys. Right? Now, a lot of people are still very invested in Charlie Kirk, and I get it. There's too many inconsistencies to the story. I've talked about it well beyond needing to talk about it more. However, I do want to touch on something here. And we had discussed this a little bit. There was a blip on the radar, but it's even coming full circle now that Anna Paulina Luna, right? She's saying that investigators have uncovered foreign government funding tied to assassination of Charlie Kirk. Now, you would think that alone would dominate the news cycle for weeks, right? Wrong. The story gets buried almost instantly. The same outlets that scream threat to democracy every 24 hours suddenly can't find time to cover a political assassination with potential foreign links. Why? Because it points the finger at the wrong side of power. Maybe it points at the closest ally. I don't know. But if that claim holds water, if the foreign funds are involved in political violence, then what we're looking at isn't just corruption, okay? Because you got to think, it's not like Charlie Kirk held office. He was just really a podcaster. He did public events, man. He was just a podcaster. And whoever this was, this foreign nation, felt so compelled that his voice was so detrimental to them, and I can only think of one place, that they would have had to, not just corruption, but infiltration, foreign-backed influences, ideological proxies, and information warfare happening right outside or inside of our borders, coming from the outside, right? And the other thing is the push by our closest ally to all these influencers. You can tell them, and if you're following these people, you should stop immediately. Seriously, if they're pushing the closest ally narrative, that they're more important than America and this and that, and that this is a Christian ideology, which is not. Everyone who's chosen is those who accept Jesus Christ, not some nation state government somewhere in the Middle East. It's not the case. So, but you see them, like Ben Shapiro has taken 2 days just to attack Nick Fuentes because of his thoughts, right? He's taken 2 days. I've never liked Ben Shapiro, you know, and really, I don't really follow any of these guys. You know, I mean, the thing is, all of them, both of them I just talked about, don't really even seem masculine at all to me. I mean, they're not somebody I would look up to for information, truthfully, because they just look a little, you know, soft. But the thing is that you obviously see there's payroll behind this. Why would you take attacks against Tucker Carlson and these sort of people just because they're speaking out? It's supposed to be America. You're supposed to have freedom of speech, but there's blatant attacks by certain podcasters against these voices, right? You should be able to say whatever you want to say. Why is all this happening? You know, they're attacking Marjorie Taylor Greene, Tucker, and all these folks. Officer Tatum has taken on his whole new role as that, you know. It should be just very apparent these people are being backed. I mean, it's just, there's no other reason why you would flip your whole dimension into one realm defending a nation state. That ain't America. It just doesn't make sense, you know. And going back to Cash Patel, while all this story is getting buried about Kirk, apparently the FBI supposedly can't locate a man named Aaron Levitsky, okay? And I think I got his information here. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah. So Aaron Levitsky here. This guy is Israeli-American Jewish sculptor, sniper, working greater self. He loves America, hates Nazi hunter. He has came out against threatening violence towards this Christian influencer named Morgan Ariel, I think her name is, on X. I'm going to post her video. She's talking about it. She shows the threads on the screen of the video, but the Bureau is saying they can't find him. They can't even disclose his country of origin. Okay, let's play the clip.
So I wanted to come on here and give you an update pertaining to the American-Israeli Jewish sniper who threatened to take my life. He said he was going to hunt me down like a dog and piss on my grave. So last week, probably thanks to you guys as well for everybody making noise about it, the FBI did contact me and they did reach out to me. They opened up an investigation into the account Aaron Levitsky, and I was waiting for the investigation to come back last Thursday. I followed up with them and they told me that they thought that they had located the account, but they didn't have any more information for me at that time. I followed up with them yesterday, at which point he said that he did locate the country that the account was from, but that they could not verify who the individual was, and that the best thing for me to do is to block the account and to let them know if I hear anything else from this individual, but that...
So we have, after Charlie Kirk, we have other influencers being threatened, their lives being threatened, and the FBI just says, yeah, just block the account. It isn't suspect, right?
This individual is not in the United States, per them. I asked them, of course, in follow-up, okay, well, can you please tell me what country this individual is allegedly in? And they told me, no, they can't do that because it's special, secret, grand jury information. Whatever that's supposed to mean. I guess we're all just born yesterday, and
they're not going to tell you where he's at. And he threatened your life.
And my response to that was, that's very interesting because several weeks ago, there were various political influencers, Laura Loomer being one of them, and also Benny Johnson, who had a whole press conference.
Yeah, Pam Bondi threw out the whole press conference for Benny Johnson. You have to ask why, because they're on the group, the Chosen Ally group.
Someone threatened him. These people not only were arrested, but they had their identities made public, and they were blasted all over the news and all over social media. So, you know, I understand allegedly if this individual is not in the United States that they're not going to be able to arrest this person, but at the very minimum, they would be able to tell me what country this individual is in, because that is very pertinent information. And I did not get a response. I waited yesterday to see if I got a response, and I received no response on this. So I'm just going to assume that this person is in Israel and they don't want to disclose the information, or they're in the United States and they are protecting them. I don't know. I can only let my mind wander because nobody wants to tell me anything. And I think that that's really, really unfortunate. I think, you know, what I told the FBI was that it would be important to know this information because I'm sure that they are aware, there is a lot of distrust right now in our justice system, but nobody seems to care about that. So I don't know. Is Aaron Levitsky in the United States? Is Aaron Levitsky sitting off in Israel being protected, and while American citizens?
Morgan, Frost is threatened and dangerous. Okay. You're your own quick reaction force. So let's talk about the obvious here, though. How does a self-identified foreign linked operator issue threats to Americans on social media and vanish essentially without a trace? And then we have the FBI pretty much pulling cover for him. That's either negligence or complicity. Either way, it screams breakdown. These stories, man, you know, with this lady here, first off, what man threatens women? It's just crazy. And if you've seen the screenshot, he threatened to take her life. So you would think, especially in the climate we're in, this would be taken a little bit more serious by the FBI, but you know, cash hotels turned out to be a complete joke.
So I didn't know anything about this story of this young lady who was threatened. It's quite distressful. And if you could go back and stop or go to X and see this guy's account, because they haven't removed his account after threatening to kill this young lady. When I Google searched his name, I came up with two, I think they're TikToks, but you'll see them, little snippets from Ryan Matta, who he has a lot to say about, I guess we're in really a two-tiered justice system. And some people, unlike what Hillary told us, are really above the law. So let's take a listen to Ryan Matta.
Is the man who was arrested by Trump's Nazi police state. Kash Patel, the FBI director, went on a witch hunt after this man, after he had an anonymous account where he was shit posting, literally talking shit about Laura Loomer and Josh Hammer, allegedly, okay, after the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Well, Nicholas Ray is a father, he has children, and a wife who loves him. This man doesn't have a mean bone in his body, literally had an anonymous account, and he was shit posting, talking shit. This man was never going to threaten, he was never a threat to anybody. But yesterday, Aaron Levitsky decided to send death threats to Morgan Ariel, where he literally sent her a personal DM and told her that he was going to kill her, fuck her, and then put her into a grave and piss on her grave. You live in America. Why are you demonizing Jews? There will be deadly consequences Stop this dangerous anti-Semitic propaganda. I'm seriously warning you. There will be deadly punishment, I promise to God. You boils my blood right now. Stop Nazi propaganda, bitch. I will dedicate my life to fuck all of you pieces of shit anti-Semites. You must pay a heavy price for hate against Jews. I will piss on your grave, anti-Semite. So Kash Patel and Pam Bondi have not arrested this man yet. X has not banned this man, and he's still walking around free. So we live in an absolute police state. Look at this man on the camera here. Look at this. Look at the photo. This is his pregnant wife that you guys are looking at. And now this man is going to be facing, what, 10, 20 years in prison because he put out some tweets? But yet, when God's chosen people can literally threaten to murder you, bury you in a grave, and then piss on your grave, Kash Patel and the FBI are hands off. So how does this work exactly, Kash? How about the FBI? Does anybody want to comment? Are any mainstream media outlets going to cover the story of Morgan Ariel? What happens if somebody attacks Morgan? Because it should be the biggest lawsuit in our nation's history, because we now live in an absolute police state where you're going to get arrested for some tweets you put out from an anonymous account. They went through the effort of using the full weight of the FBI to track down this man's IP address, figure out who he is, and then go and literally raid his home, kick his door in, drag him out in handcuffs in front of his wife and his children. And here we are today, and yet God's chosen people, again, can threaten to rape, murder, and bury you, and then piss on your grave, and the FBI is not going to do a damn thing about it. What a disgrace this is. So moving forward, every single person that's ever received a death threat, I want you to go through all of your DMs. I want you to grab all of those names. Anytime a Jewish person has sent you a death threat and said that they were going to kill you, I want you to send it to me. And I'm going to make videos on it. We're going to blow this story up. We're not letting go of this Nicholas Ray case. This is a joke. This isn't what we wanted in America. This shit's been going on for how many years have we had social media? And nobody has ever been hurt or killed because of it outside of the random 1 or 2 cases. This is a fucking joke, and they're turning this shit into a police state. And if they're going to come after us, well, they better come after them. Number 1, you're never going to see the Epstein list. And number 2, nobody on the Epstein list is ever going to get arrested. And number 3, why Kash Patel is 100% going to cover up the assassination of Charlie Kirk. But let me read this. So it says, holy shit, a Jewish American sniper named Aaron Levitsky threatened to hunt down, murder, and piss on Itz Morgan's grave this week. She went to the cops, the FBI, and the Illinois Attorney General, and they did nothing for her. Aaron Levitsky's X account is still active, and he's been found not to break any X terms despite many calls for Elon Musk to suspend it. The worst part is, there will be no press conference with FBI Director Kash Patel or AG Pam Bondi to address this deadly threat. There will be no making an example out of this Jewish man like they did for the individual who threatened Benny Johnson, Seth Dillon, or Laura Loomer. The FBI will not track down the IP address and find this man, nor press charges, it appears. Why? Because we live in a 2-tier justice system where regular citizens are ignored unless it advances a political agenda. This is the story that destroys the narrative, and it deserves to be heard and seen. Pray for Morgan Ariel's safety. Okay, now let me explain to you guys why you're never going to see the Epstein list. The man who is the FBI director who covers up the Epstein list and now covers up the assassination of Charlie Kirk has just fortified himself for all of eternity to be the FBI director. Kash Patel is now the new Hoover, right? Hoover lasted in the FBI as the director for 50 years. Kash Patel has now became the most powerful man in the world. He went from being a nobody who probably wouldn't even get hired at a local job. What was his job in the intelligence in the government? He came up in the government, right? Outside of being a government little lackey, Kash Patel was a nobody. Nobody cared about him. He wrote a book called Government Gangsters. He was having trouble raising $100,000 for the Fight with Cash Foundation. We went down there with Garrett O'Boyle and the FBI whistleblowers and kicked off that foundation because magically he was involved with something where $100,000 allegedly went missing with the January 6ers Foundation. So all of a sudden, Kash Patel, who couldn't get on a private jet, who nobody really cared to have him out to dinner, is now the most powerful man in the world. And as long as he continues to cover up the Epstein list and he gets away with covering up the assassination of Charlie Kirk, the man becomes the most powerful man in the world, in control of the most powerful intelligence agency. And now, no president, nobody will ever be able to de-seat him from that throne if they want to keep the current system in place, okay? Unless you're planning on turning the FBI headquarters into a spy museum on day one, unless you're planning on dismantling the FBI and dismantling the CIA and our intelligence agencies. If not, if you're going to be the next president that just comes in line like J.D. Vance or Marco Rubio or J.D. Vance and Erica Kirk, for example, nothing will ever change because they're never going to be able to remove this man from power because he controls everybody in the inner circles. This is how the game is played. This is how power is acquired. Kash Patel, somebody that you wouldn't hire to babysit your kids or cut your grass, is now the most powerful man in the world because he's covering up the highest profile assassination since JFK. God bless you.
And this is Baron Coleman, and this is the man who really shared with us the Google searches that had been done by everyone, practically the janitor at the university, everyone involved, every name, George Zinn, all of them that have come up through the Charlie Kirk thing in Google searches that were done from the state of Israel right before the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Baron Coleman, Baron, 1R, and you want to go follow him because fascinating. He comes on a couple times a week. Fascinating stuff.
Some of us want to know if there's an international hit squad on the loose. I mean, this is a real concern for some of us. Is there an international hit squad on the loose in America? Why? Because we go to other public events. Erica, your husband wasn't the only celebrity in the country. He wasn't the only political figure. He wasn't the only guy giving speeches. And some of us want to know if we're in danger when we go to these places. And if we don't know who did it, we don't know if we're in danger. If it was an Egyptian hit squad, if it was an Israeli hit squad, if it was an Iranian hit squad, if it was a Russian or a Ukrainian hit squad, if it was an Australian hit squad, if it was an American hit squad, I want to know. Because you know what I don't believe? I don't believe one guy living with a furry, playing Magic the Gathering, figured out how to do this. I don't believe it. I don't believe it.
Well, you're about to see one of the most interesting aspects of the Charlie Kirk assassination, and that would be the 12 Israeli cell phones that were in the audience. Now, why would that be? Let's take a listen to Jimmy Dore, who's been paying attention to Candace.
I don't know if you're following Candace Owens, but I am.
So is Mossad.
So is Mossad, and she has found out something very interesting about the people. By the way, if you know anybody who believes the official story about what happened with the assassination of Charlie Kirk, please let me know because I'd like to go visit them in the museum of the most gullible people in the world, because that's what that is.
You mean America?
Yeah, America. So here is Candace Owens she's discovered some interesting tidbits of information about the types of people who were on campus at that event that day. Wait, this might blow your mind.
And I had heard rumors and rumblings, but I wanted to make sure that I had verifiable proof, enough proof that I would go out on a limb, as I'm doing right now, and asserting that it is authentic and it is real. Ladies and gentlemen, there were, for whatever reason, 12 Israeli cell phones on the ground at Utah Valley University the day that Charlie Kirk was assassinated. This has completely spooked the people that are very high up in government. Now, to be clear, I don't mean that there were 12 VPNs that were switched and routed through Israel on that day. I mean that there were 12 personal cell phone accounts that were opened in Israel, okay? Like you go into Verizon in Tennessee or in Connecticut and you open your phone. I am saying that they opened their phones in Israel, those accounts in Israel, and they were on the ground on September 10th at Utah Valley University when Charlie was shot. Now, the NSA knows this. Kash Patel knows this. People in the current administration know this, and they are desperate for some reason to stop that information from being released to the public. Why? Because they're the most transparent administration ever? Is that why? Is this like Jeffrey Epstein transparency that we're getting? Because that's what it feels like. It always seems that on the topic of this one nation that's only the size of New Jersey and has done nothing wrong ever and was truly the greatest friend to Charlie right up until the very end, never put any pressure on him, suddenly everybody abandoned their values. True friends of Charlie Kirk, right? Standing on that stage, giving him a speech, hiding this. Now, what would be the reason that they wanted to keep that information under wraps? And why does it have people at the very top spooked? If there's nothing to hide, then there's nothing to hide, okay? If there's nothing to hide, then there's nothing to hide. Now, let's play devil's advocate. And to be clear, we are now advocating for the devil when we do this. Maybe the cell phones belonged to some exchange students. It's possible. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe they're probably some Jewish students just getting a good Mormon education.
Yeah, immigrating to Utah to be around Mormons.
Yeah.
It reeks of an inside job. That is how I feel. And the more that we learn about the story, the little changes that happen, the inexplicable things that we're learning, it becomes clearer and clearer that somehow at some layer, at some stage, Turning Point USA is involved because they're giving us no clarity. Why? Why did this get approval so quickly? The reason why they have to plan these so far in advance is because Charlie travels like a madman, okay? He's not a person that has nothing on his calendar and can be like, yeah, sure, let's just do this event randomly. The second thing that was driving me crazy as well, which was completely atypical, is the fact that Charlie was slated to speak in Utah on September 10th and then was due to return just 10 days later to a different campus in Utah that's under 2 hours away. That's not how they plan events, okay? The idea is if you're gonna fly and you're already gonna be in that corridor, try to do those campus events back to back. You'll do a sweep. We did UCLA, we did Berkeley, we did Stanford. You do a sweep overnight, over 2 days. You don't fly to Utah and then go back home to Arizona and then fly to Utah 10 days later. Nothing is making sense, and we need to get to the bottom of why that is. It's looking to me, and you can let me know if you agree, it's looking to me like the apparent plan was to assassinate Charlie Kirk, who had at long last faltered on the pro-Israel cause, okay, his words, not mine, and then to stage a hostile takeover of his brand and of his legacy by pretending that his best friends in the world were like Susie Wiles and co. Somehow she made it onto the stage to eulogize him at this very public event. It's so publicized, we can't even doubt. I mean, obviously, look who he's having speak. Your job around the world is to now support this administration and this administration's efforts because we've turned this event into an effective Trump rally. It looks that way to me. Then they were going to tell Americans, as Pastor Rob McCoy did, that it just so happened that Charlie Kirk kept notebooks and diaries. He was so diligent that he wrote down his succession plan featuring who he wanted to take over for the organization in the event of his untimely death. Like, he just, in the third notebook, he was like, oh, and if I accidentally get shot on campus, here's what you should do. Call Erica. And then after you call Erica, come find this notebook. And in this notebook, you'll see that I am using adjectives like fantastic and heroic to describe Mikey McCoy. And if during this process of our imagination, common sense comes on and we're like, but wait, Charlie, wasn't he like a boy genius? He's a pretty bright kid. Wouldn't he have maybe formalized that succession plan outside of like a diary? Maybe call one of his many lawyers? Maybe formalize it in a will? Because that's what you're supposed to do if you are thinking about dying and you need to make a plan. You make a will. I'm sure he had a will, but no, he wanted to put it in these notebooks. And then the plan was to guilt us, I think, to try to haunt us with the ghost of Charlie's notebooks that we're never going to be allowed to read, but we're supposed to accept that they most definitely read, like for sure. That's what it feels like. Do you agree? I think their thought process was it will be much easier for us to control the spirit of Charlie Kirk than the actual living, breathing Charlie Kirk. That's the vibe that I'm starting to get as I keep discovering all of these strange anomalies. And in the spirit of Charlie Kirk, in case you missed it, we're supposed to think that he would want us to be mad at Tucker Carlson and that he would want us to stop speaking about his murder and to instead unite and to get behind and support what feels like a hostile takeover of his company and his brand and to commit ourselves further to the Republican cause, right? To do everything that we can to make sure that, well, Mamdani, as just one example, does not become the mayor of New York. Well, guess what? It looks like we didn't do that. Looks like the plan maybe failed, despite the billionaire bucks that were flowing into the anti-Mamdani campaign. He won pretty handily against Andrew Cuomo, which like 5 minutes ago, the Republican Party was telling us he was unbelievably corrupt and that he should be in prison. And all of a sudden, it was our duty to get the word out, to get people to vote for Cuomo somehow again. Bill Ackman almost personally ran against Mamdani, right? At times, he even demanded to have a debate with Mamdani, which I don't understand the context of why Mamdani would be debating Bill Ackman if he's not running against him. Point is, Mamdani won, okay? Bill gave $1.75 million and Mamdani won, irrespective of the money that was donated against him. Michael Bloomberg also gave money to a Cuomo-affiliated super PAC. He gave $8.3 million to stop Mamdani, and it didn't matter. The Airbnb co-founder, Joseph Gebbia, gave $3.1 million. It didn't matter. The Tisch family gave $1.2 million. It didn't matter. Still, Mamdani won. Why? Okay, if we're being honest, he probably won during the first mayoral debate, okay? Just like if I reflect upon 2016, Trump kind of won in the first Republican debate because he was just kind of saying F you to the establishment, and it was pretty apparent. I want you to take a listen to this question. It's shocking, actually, if you've never seen this. This is a question that was asked to the New York City mayoral candidates about which foreign country they would visit first if they won. So to be clear, the question on its face makes entirely no sense, but this is how it was answered. Take a listen.
The first foreign visit by a mayor of New York is always considered significant. Where would you go first? Left to right, Ms. Adams.
First visit, I would visit the Holy Land.
Mr. Cuomo?
Given the hostility and the anti-Semitism that has been shown in New York, I would go to Israel.
Mr. Tilson, where would you go?
Yeah, I'd make my 4th trip to Israel, followed by my 5th trip to Ukraine, two of our greatest allies fighting on the front lines of the global war on terror.
Mr. Mamdani.
I would stay in New York City. My plans are to address New Yorkers across the 5 boroughs and focus on that.
Mr. Mamdani, can I just jump in? Would you visit Israel as mayor?
I will be doing, as the mayor, I'll be standing up for Jewish New Yorkers, and I'll be meeting them wherever they are across the 5 boroughs, whether that's in their synagogues and temples or at their homes or at the subway platform, because ultimately we need to focus on delivering on their concerns.
And just yes or no, do you believe in a Jewish state of Israel?
I believe Israel has the right to exist.
Not
as a Jewish state?
As a state with equal rights.
He won't say it has a right to exist as a Jewish state. Be very
clear. And his answer was no, he won't visit Israel.
I said that.
That's what he was trying to say.
No. Unlike you, I answer questions very directly.
All right.
My goal would be to take my first trip to Israel. My wife's life work in this area means a lot to our family, and it could coincide with my young son Miles' bar mitzvah.
Just like, this is our country, you guys. That's it. You know what? I'm going to take my 19th trip to Israel. Oh, well, I'm going to take my first trip after my son's bar mitzvah. Oh, I was planning on stopping over on the way for our honeymoon. We were going to stop and just go to Israel and do whatever we could. It's ridiculous and it's obvious. And the way that the establishment comes down, if you don't peddle those talking points, he says something totally normal. Yeah, I'm going to stay here in New York. Why do I have to make a trip to Israel? And he says, I'd rather work with the Jewish New Yorkers that are here. That makes sense. Why are they all coming down on him? Why have all of our politicians, left and right, sold us out? Okay? Republican Party. I'll never forget during the presidential debates, they were all wearing, the majority of them, I think there was only Vivek Ramaswamy was not wearing the Israeli pin. I'm like, you're running for president of the United States. What are you doing wearing the Israeli flag as a pin on your jacket? No one can answer these questions. And they do the same thing. I love Israel more. No, I love Israel more. No, I love Israel more. But I guess the bigger, broader question is, why didn't MAGA Why didn't MAGA? Why didn't MAGA do the thing? We've infiltrated MAGA and we told them to do what we want, and we wanted them to all make posts, anti-Mamdani posts. Just to be clear, even Donald Trump, President Trump, dedicated 900% more Truth Social posts to ensuring that Mamdani would lose than to ensuring that Charlie Kirk's murderer was found. 900% increase in messaging coming from him, since he didn't even send one message about investigating Charlie's murder. But the question is, why didn't MAGA listen even to Trump? Why didn't we all get on our platforms and say something? Because people like Dana Lash want to know, how are we going to win if you guys don't use your platforms and encourage people to vote? Well, the answer is pretty obvious. We don't recognize this MAGA because the fact that you're in it makes no sense. You were never Trump. If you're telling us that MAGA is now Josh Hammer, then MAGA is not MAGA, okay? MAGA needs a new leader. And it's pretty obvious that you guys recognize that we have never been with you. We've actually never been on the same team. And if you think you're going to infiltrate and convince us that this is the same party while we get gaslit about everything that's happening, like I said, you lost the party. MAGA got fractured, not when Tucker Carlson interviewed Nick Fuentes, but when Donald Trump looked at us in our faces and said, Epstein who? That's when it was game over. Because Israel First is a cancer cell. It is a cancer cell, left or right, to everything and everyone that wants to play around with it. It is a radical psychosis that has manifested itself within both parties. And it is so radical that, in case you missed it, yesterday, they started attacking Brett Cooper. Brett Cooper, 23-year-old, bubbly Brett Cooper. She makes the majority of her videos dedicated to pop culture. Yes, she covers things that are, I would say, mainstream politics, nothing too daring, never speaks about Israel. And she did her part, by the way. Zionists wanted her to do her part and encouraged New Yorkers to get out and vote against Mamdani. But it's not enough, of course, because this is a radical ideology. You give them 100%. You even say one critique, and they don't want to break bread with you. They want to destroy you. And that's what they want to do to Brett Cooper, because she watched the totally deranged Tucker is Not MAGA Republican Jewish coalition event, and she agreed with the majority of sensible people that demands to censor speech, to deplatform, is not only childish, it's also ineffective. It's also antithetical to what it means to be a conservative. So I'm going to let you listen to what Brett Cooper said about Randy Fine, and let me know if you're just so offended that you think that she needs to be canceled and destroyed. Take a listen to what Brett Cooper said.
Like Randy Fine, if you don't know who he is, he's a representative from Florida. He's the same guy who bragged about not washing his hands after he had a handshake with Netanyahu. He's repeatedly introduced bills to criminalize anti-Semitism, infringing upon free speech. I mean, he obviously, I'm sorry to say, but he obviously cares more about Israel than he does, principles like free speech. So, buddy, like, my advice to you, Randy Fine, is just move to Israel at this point. Like, considering you had to go through anger management classes a few years ago, I genuinely think you would probably be happier if you just moved to Israel. And that's not a dig at him. That's just a fact. It's a nudge of encouragement. I want everybody to be happy. I want everybody to be healthy. I think you would be happier if you just moved to Israel. You could be over there singing songs with Mike Huckabee.
Seems like pretty sound advice. Rather than trying to make this country Israel, why don't you just go live in Israel? And here's what she had to say regarding Ted Cruz. Take a listen.
You are so blinded by your ridiculous, insane hatred of Tucker Carlson that you cannot see how irresponsible and hypocritical you are being. I mean, these tweets from Ted Cruz, I'm going to read you next, are a great example of this. So just a month ago, he tweeted this. He said, "They don't kill you because you're a Nazi. They call you a Nazi so they can kill you. Political violence is a left-wing phenomenon. Enough is enough. We need to shut it down." And then in response to Fuentes and Tucker this week, he tweeted this. "Trump's bombing of the Ayatollah's nuclear facilities made the little Nazi mad. Good." So now you're turning around and you're calling somebody that you don't like a Nazi. You're doing this out of blind rage because you're so angry that the conservative base's attitudes are rapidly changing, that Nick Fuentes is getting national attention, and so you have turned around and in response, you are compromising your own values in anger, which is such a dangerous precedent to set. And unfortunately for you guys, yes, the attitudes are changing, so again, it makes sense why this group is incredibly frantic.
She's a voice of Gen Z, so you would think that the good thing to do here would be to listen, to break bread, for someone to reach out and invite her onto a show so they can talk about it, so they can hear their voices. You might recall Charlie Kirk did this. He sat down with Gen Z and said, I'm trying to tell them that they are pushing an entire generation away with their actions. But we know how they responded to Charlie Kirk doing that. They started calling him an anti-Semite. They started squeezing him up into the last moment of his life. They were making financial threats to him. And not just financial threats, they made good on those threats. People like Bob Shillman took $2 million away from him because he let Tucker Carlson hit the stage. They've learned nothing. They've learned nothing. And so rather than trying to reach across and say to Gen Z or to say to Brett Cooper, hey, I'd love to have you on our show, or hey, I'd love for you to meet this person, they're already calling her the white Candace Owens. If you're Aaron Wexler, here's an actual tweet. Okay, white Candace, what is a Nazi then? Like, what? How does that make any sense? Why are you calling Brett Cooper the white Candace? Like, why are you even thinking about the fact that Brett Cooper is white? Why do we keep seeing this recurring theme of Jewish supremacists constantly having to comment on white people? Like, why does she have to be the white Candace? That's ridiculous. Nothing, we don't even have the same ideas. It's completely, she's saying something sensible, but it gets worse. Ted Cruz, who's a pretty sensible guy, comes out and tries to big timer. I don't know how he thought that would land. She's 23 years old. It looks very loserish to try to big time a 23-year-old with, who are you? Here's what he had to say. I don't know who this angry lady is, but she's missing a key distinction. Fuentes calls himself a Nazi. He has said that Hitler is very cool and Hitler was right and he is on Team Hitler. If you explicitly side with and advocate for Hitler, you are an actual effing Nazi. Like, first off, class it up. We don't need you dropping F-bombs to a 23-year-old. Secondly, trying to big time her and act like you don't know who she is when you have done various things with the Daily Wire, including you were featured in a movie that Brett Cooper starred in at the Daily Wire, Lady Ballers. You're good friends with Michael Knowles. You know fully well who Brett Cooper is. And like, that was a super classless tweet coming from you. Like, what does she have to do? Like, run for president and not win to be recognized on a global scale? Again, doing nothing to bring people over to their cause. And because it's not just about trying to big time people, but you will find that there is this current of just sheer evil that Zionism goes hand in hand with, trying to deconstruct who an individual is very quickly. They began pouring through all of Brett's old content, looking for ways to go after her character. And they came across a clip of her speaking to Sean Ryan last year. Now, before I give you the context of this clip, I want you to listen to it because it will really help you process just how spiritually evil and possessed these people are, okay? This is the tweet that went up, a couple of tweets that went up saying essentially she's a witch. I'm not kidding. This is a real tweet. What a surprise. Brett Cooper and her mom engage in witchcraft. She's not a conservative. I don't care how hard people want to gaslight me about it. Here's another tweet. Brett Cooper, the most recent hero of the woke right, is a secular, nominally religious spiritualist. Her views are inherently unchristian, but that doesn't matter to the woke right as long as she agrees with or permits their hatred of Jews. She's good to go in their book. This is not a Christian movement. Here is the clip they are referring to.
We did all sorts of things. My mom visited mediums. Right after, I mean, I haven't done that and I kind of want to, but she did. She went to multiple mediums, like one in New York where you don't tell them or even his assistant like who you are or anything about you, and you go to this hotel room and he would just like sit there. Just like talking about it is so weird. And both her first husband and David popped up.
Are you serious?
Yeah. And we're like, there's a 17-year-old young man here who wants to speak to you. I mean, it was like, I was actually just thinking about this meeting the other day. I was Googling, trying to see if I could find him. I need to ask my mom the name because I would love to go just do this. But yeah, she was able to speak to Don, her first husband, to hear from him. She had a miscarriage between the boys, I think, and I'm pretty sure that at one of the medium things that baby came in, said something.
You know the lights just dimmed behind you twice.
I saw that.
Okay, so now let me properly contextualize the conversation that they're having. It's actually one of the most compelling and moving conversations I've ever seen Brett Cooper have. It's a very powerful episode of the Sean Ryan Show because she tells her backstory and you realize how much substance she has and the things that she lived through. She lived through a lot. This is somebody who had twin brothers, and one of her twin brothers dropped dead from a heart attack unexpectedly. And when she describes the dynamics of what they went through as a family, meaning things you don't think about, having an identical twin brother, and then one half of you, you're literally a split cell, dies suddenly, what that does to the other twin brother who has to walk by the mirror every day and see his brother, but his brother's actually dead. So her brother that survived, he went crazy. She takes care of him. He is in a mental hospital, and she's talking about the grieving process that they went through, what her mother went through. Her mother went and visited mediums. Like, may you never know the pain of losing a child. Like, it is something that I can't even fathom the pain of losing a child and how it ripped through her family. And she effectively lost a second brother because of having lost the first brother, and trying to come to terms with the fact that her family's never going to be the same again, how it led to divorce, all of these things. And they're just going, she's a witch. Her mother went to go visit a medium. That's it. Case closed. I mean, what is wrong with these people? I am telling you, there is no way that we can break bread. The Israel First movement, like I said, is a true cancer. It just wants to destroy. There is so much hate, but I also want to be clear that they are growing increasingly dangerous because they are radical at their hearts, because these are the descendants of Bolsheviks. This is not something just to laugh at. It's something to pay attention to, okay? Because if they're going after Brett Cooper in this demonic of a way, someone who's just a bubbly girl who speaks mostly about pop culture, and now they're trying to dig up content and say that she's a witch, so we're supposed to drown her, burn Brett Cooper at the stake, then where does that put the rest of us? And their rhetoric is getting dangerous. They're saying another 9/11 is coming. I'm going to tell you guys about that in a little bit. Don't go away. All right, so the establishment has never hated me more, particularly because I'm looking into this Charlie Kirk case. I'm not going to stop doing that. A couple of questions that I want to put out in the public, by the way, regarding that. But there was this riveting segment that apparently happened in July on CNN that I saw for the first time this morning as it was going around on X. And it's really amazing. And it really is just, I guess, how people feel about me in the establishment media in a nutshell. So let's take a listen to CNN.
Not only is she stupid, but she's also disgusting, right? I mean, Candace Owens has got to be one of the most disgusting folks who ever gets airplay on any major network in this country.
And this is actually not even the worst of Candace Owens.
She's an anti-Semite.
But that says quite a lot.
Yeah, she's an anti-Semite. She's anti-gay. She's an anti-Semite. She has said stuff about the history of slavery in this country that's disgusting. Yes, it's funny insofar, that her statements make no sense. But when we really get to the core of the issue, she's just a disgusting human being, and that's the bottom line.
I'm sorry, but that's just objectively funny. It's funny because they're being serious, and it's funny. When we get to the core of the issue, yeah, she's an anti-Semite. Yeah, she hates women. She hates black people. When we get to the core, she's just a disgusting person. All right, cool. Let's keep plodding along. Lastly, and switching gears here, what I want to say to you, and this is building upon what I said earlier, is pay very close attention, because all of the wrong people, and by this I mean the pro-Israel crowd, are signaling hard to us that another 9/11 is coming. They're jacking up the jihad rhetoric. Everyone's a jihadist. Muslims are coming. The Muslims are here. Mabdani, there's a jihadist threat. Something big is coming. And the Pentagon, okay, like where the Department of Defense is housed, the Pentagon, which was implicated in 9/11, a lot of questions about what the Pentagon was up to, a lot of questions about the Pentagon, okay? They have just given press passes. They've just put Laura Loomer in their press corps. I'm not kidding. Check this out. Check out this headline. Conservative activist Laura Loomer, a Trump ally, says she has a new Pentagon press pass. Now, this is of interest. This should be of interest to everybody, because you don't have to be a Laura Loomer hater or a Laura Loomer lover to know that Laura Loomer quite literally has psychiatric issues, okay? She has been on multiple Psych 5150 holds. She is the person who, in case you didn't know this, chained herself to Twitter when she got banned from Twitter. And she wore a Star of David. Now, crazier than the fact that she chained herself at Twitter headquarters and was wearing a Star of David and trying to correlate being banned from Twitter as being in a Holocaust is the fact that Laura Loomer is factually not Jewish. Okay, so she's living in a delusion that she's even Jewish. That was politically expedient for her to say that she was Jewish. She can't produce any bat mitzvah pictures because it never happened. No bat mitzvah, it just never happened. She became Jewish, in essence, I suppose, for political reasons, and has gone so far in this identity crisis that she chained herself to Twitter headquarters and made it like a Jewish thing when they kicked her off of Twitter back in 2018. Now, I don't even agree with the fact that they kicked her off. I don't agree with them kicking anybody off. But you should know that our Department of Defense, for whatever reason, is signaling that she's an okay person to be in the building. That just seems like maybe a flight risk. Like if you're just interested in basic safety and defense, you wouldn't allow that person in a building like the Pentagon specifically. And they're doing that. Why? Because she has proven over and over again that she has no soul, and she will lie over and over again on people, on places, and on things that she sees with her own eyes, as long as she defends the state of Israel, which has absolutely nothing to do with her and her ethnicity, which is insane, okay? On top of that, we have Josh Hammer, who just looks evil, just looks like a Bond villain, who is similarly signaling, along with many others, that there's going to be another 9/11. And again, the pro-Israel crowd would know a little something about that. Take a listen to what Josh Hammer said.
New York City, for the time being, it looks like you are pretty screwed. For the time being, it looks like you are literally going to have a Karl Marx quoting, Hamas-loving, red-green alliance sicko. Yes, he is an absolute sicko. You're going to have this guy as the next mayor. A quarter century, just under a quarter century, actually, after 9/11, after the largest Islamic mass terrorist attack in global history, certainly in American history, but find me another single casualty event that killed that many people as were tragically killed on September 11th, 2001, a day that as a native suburban New Yorker myself, I remember all too well. Less than a quarter century later, they are going to have a Muslim mayor, and not merely a Muslim mayor, but a Muslim mayor who has refused repeatedly to utterly condemn things such as globalize the Intifada, who injected his unique far-left noxious brand of Middle East politics, somehow injected that into a municipal election there for various identitarian identity politics reasons there.
Who are you more afraid of as an American, Muslims or Zionists? I'm going to go ahead and say Zionists for me personally, because like whenever they get on this thing where they start talking about like there's going to be a war, whenever they start itching for a war, like they want a regime change in Iran, they find a reason that something happens and suddenly our boys are being sent. So what I will say is your best guard against this is just to refuse to fight in the war that I think they're foreshadowing. Just refuse, honestly, on a principle, refuse. Because our administration has been infiltrated and there are extremely evil people that are at the helm of the United States military and that are not caring at all about American lives, in my viewpoint, not taking a stance whatsoever for the freedoms that people in the past have fought for. Like this administration is not even fighting for free speech on college campuses anymore. And it's a turnaround. It is a 180 from the Trump that came down the escalator. I will not support it. You're not going to convince me that this is the MAGA movement. It's not. And the reason I know it's not is because all the Never Trumpers are praising it. And I've always been against Never Trumpers. So if Trump joined the Never Trump party, then good on him, but I'm not following him there. That's what I'm going to say on that.
And now introducing my latest, man, I just love this guy. I love listening to him. He is not afraid to talk. As if those of you who have been hanging around a while, you know that when I wrote my second book, which had nothing to do with Israel or Jewish people, I was labeled an anti-Semite. I was attacked brutally by a bunch of whack jobs, as you can see them all now, but this was over 10 years ago. It was something. I had to go dark. It was pretty crazy. It was pretty damn brutal. So I'm really happy to see somebody like Nick Fuentes having the guts to speak and to speak the truth. And I think what you're probably about to figure out by the end of this is that you probably are either awake or you have been manipulated, and you need to slap yourself to wake yourself up. Buckle up, here it comes, the grand finale.
Netanyahu has made it very clear that the information war in America, he considers that a front in his war against Iran and the Palestinians. That's why they bought TikTok. That's why they bought CBS. That's why there's this all-out attack right now on Tucker Carlson. That's where the pressure is coming from. And so they'll say a lot of things. They'll say a lot of things about me, and they'll try to use Erica Kirk as a wedge and say he attacked her. They'll try to throw things out. Well, 3 years ago, he said this bad thing. They'll try to call us anti-Semites, and they can say those things. That's not what it's really about. At the end of the day, what this is about is whether the United States is going to do another Iraq war, whether we're going to repeat all those mistakes, whether America will have another memorandum of understanding, another $40 billion for Israel. That's what this is about. And everyone from Tucker to Marjorie Greene to Thomas Massey to Candace Owens to Joe Rogan to Dave Smith, Piers Morgan, Anna Kasparian, Cenk Uygur. It's getting to be a long list. Kanye West, yay. Everybody is starting to say enough is enough. We are telling the 2% and the $7,000 club holding us hostage, the Israel Firsters, we're telling them no. It stops here. Enough is enough. We're not going to vote for this. We're not going to support this. And we're done being silent about it.